I'm Miranda Rick.
And I'm Sarah Wheeler, and this is The Mother of It All, where we take on motherhood through the lens of culture and culture through the lens of motherhood. Welcome to Mother of It All. We are trying to just learn why my video feed is blurry. I think the internet can't handle me in full clarity. It would just be like too beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Oh, there I am. Oh God. Oh my God.
You're gonna break the internet.
It's too crisp. I had a question about we're not even calling it plastic surgery anymore, right? We just call it, because it's like fillers, all that stuff.
Oh.
What do we call it? Face augmentation. I had a discussion about that category of things with my mom yesterday, as she I'm sorry, Mom, if you're listening, but pretty obviously pointed towards a lady at the bar who had like lip fillers and was like, do you understand why that's attractive? And I was like totally with her, just like, yeah, what's happening to people these days? And then I was like, but do you know about the new facelift that's like really good? I would get that if it was free. Would you? Like if it was free and it didn't hurt, you still wouldn't do it?
Make you look weird?
Just like, see, I'm doing it.
If
you're listening, this is an image of a 42-year-old woman just pulling at her cheeks so that she looks all of a sudden 32. No?
I think it's like anyone who listens to this podcast normally is going to be like already knowing what I'm going to say, which is just like, I feel like you can't, like, you got to reckon with where you are, and like your face is part of that. I don't know. I think I'm just like,
I don't want to
I want to get to know that, and I want to respect like aging and what that means. And
you want to get to know me old?
I want to know. I want to see what people, and I want to be part of like, it's okay to look how you look, just
that's how I feel for other people.
Yeah, you're like, but not me. Well, we had an interesting conversation at this group of
like, you
moms,
silver fox, but not me.
but also not me. Like this group of moms from school where it kind of made me realize how ubiquitous Botox is. And I guess it's like,
do the moms at your school have Botox?
Some of them.
Yeah.
And there's a new,
like 20
and
years
it's okay,
ago,
whatever.
It was
right?
like you had to be on TV. Yeah. Now it's like,
it's pretty. There's a little spa, like med spa, that opened next to my dentist, like 4 blocks away. And that's what, like, I mean, it's all that kind of stuff, right? And it's just like, I don't want to feel, I guess it all just makes me feel kind of bummed out, like, because people are feeling, the more it happens, the more you do it, the more normalized it is, the more that's what your face is supposed to look like when you're 50. And it's like, I think that then if you're going to do it too, I think it's really awesome to like talk about it. Like there was a mom who just was like, this mom was like, I don't know, should I get Botox now that I'm 40? And some of the moms were like, absolutely not. And then this other one chimed in and was like, I get Botox. And I just really liked that
money.
she was really open about it. I do that. And it's like, I think that just, I guess it's like so many choices that we make. You decide how you look. If it makes you feel good, whatever. But I won't be doing it.
I know. I'm just so vain. And I mean, it's like what's hard as you age is you don't know what's going to be the thing. Like, I don't really mind my body after having babies. Like it's different. And, I've got all this like hanging skin and, but I thought it would be like really disturbing to me, but it's not. But like there's this one hair on my chin that comes up like every 3 weeks. And like, if I forget to check on the hair or really have my husband do it, and I realize that I've been going out of the house with this chin hair, like around, I'm like, I should just leave the country and change my name because I am a disgrace. So yeah, I mean, would I rather not have any of that? I guess. And right, like you have to be the change by being like, I'm the chin hair lady and I don't give a fuck.
Well, I
but
think I'm, like, kind of an
I'm not that
extremist,
strong.
though. No, I think, like, we've
You
talked about
are.
my
I often
neurotype
think about
before.
like Zohran Mamdani. You are you are an extremist that
Well, I've learned that sometimes I say stuff like, you know, we've talked about this before again, where I'm like, "Well, I'm trying not to use Meta products," and then people are like, "Okay, but,
yeah.
like, Facebook mom groups, like, help me figure out everything I need to figure out in my
Yeah,
life."
you
And then I'm
basically do you it just anybody who doesn't know this already, Miranda basically gets her TV content from, like, you remember, like, LimeWire? It's basically like that, like a server where she, like, downloads stuff, and when she gets a new show, it's like, and it takes, like, 4 hours to download,
Yes,
um
yes. If
and they're on
you
floppy disks everywhere. So, yeah, that is extreme. In today's day and age,
I know.
that
It's like
is
I don't really
extreme.
so I feel like the face stuff, it's like I realize that a lot of my opinions that are kind of hard and very rigid and they're just my own, like I just it's not like other people need to feel that way. It's like
You'll
me
still be
not
friends with
getting
me
fillers
when
isn't about
I
other
get
people not getting fillers.
this.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
mhm.
it's not right
Well,
for me.
can I how will you still be friends with me if during this crystal clear picture that we now have here on the video, if you
Yeah.
see the site I saw on myself
Oh,
earlier this week,
yeah.
which is a adult, like grown ass grandmama louse
Nice.
walking along.
Nice.
Will you
Yeah.
still be my friend? If a
Yeah.
louse drops from my head like it did on Saturday, which is probably just if we just go down from like the big horrors of the world to the small
Yeah.
horrors, the
Yeah.
most horrifying.
Yeah, I am absolutely. I
Do you
wouldn't
have you
I
had lice?
you know, I feel like I should knock on something because it is spreading like wildfire
Yeah,
at
after we
school
talk
right
about it
now.
today, you're gonna think you have it.
We
That's
do
what
have
it
a
does.
lice
That's what the
kit
louse do. The
that's
lice
on
is
its way to our house because 'cause I've been
to
wondering, like 40% of people or something, like, don't like, you don't have the itchy head, I have learned.
oh, it's
And
like
so
asymptomatic like COVID?
yeah, and so I've been kinda, like, waiting for
Mm.
my kids' heads to be itchy, but, like, the whole school has it as far as I can tell and
Yeah.
has for, like, a month, so I'm kinda like,
Yes, same
"Well,
here.
like, maybe I should check us, like, every day with, like,
But
a
wait,
lice
what a
cone."
kid are you getting? Because, an exciting thing that happened when I discovered I had lice was
Yeah.
that I became, like, in 36 hours, like, a absolute like, I got, like, a doctorate in a
Oh,
field
yeah.
I didn't know I had any interest in,
Well, I
and
did notice
I
you used the word louse, and I was like, "Oh,
oh,
I
yeah,
saw that on
singular.
WebMD yesterday." Yeah.
Oh,
Now
yeah,
what
just
is
the
a
one.
louse versus a lice? Like,
It's just
what
singular versus plural.
I
It's like
gotcha,
dice
okay.
and what's die? Douse.
Oh,
It's like
oh,
douse and dice.
yeah, a
Die
louse.
and dice.
A
Yeah,
louse
it's
is a
just one.
single lice.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
single louse,
Oh,
and,
wow.
um, it's
Mm.
it's just it's the scariest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Now, you
It
just
is.
have to shampoo your hair, right? Like, is that I've
No,
never
Miranda.
it's
Oh
more
my
than that.
god. We have a science that okay, we gotta bring on the
We'll make a
scientist.
lice episode so people with a
Miranda,
content
I
warning.
so shout out to the lice aunties of Woburn, Massachusetts. I
Yeah.
got
These
I don't really
aunties.
care whether this is real or not, by the way. Like I started to be like, do I are their claims real? And then I was like, I don't care. I just want the aunties to like tell
Yeah.
me they're taking care of me. I got the only FDA approved lice removal device, which is like, it looks like a vacuum from the 80s. Like it's
Melinda
like got
looks
that like shitty bowl that looks like a humidifier. And then it's got a hose and they heat your head. It feels really good. And supposedly
Wow.
they kill the lice and the nits, and then they comb it all out, and if you're
Mm.
lucky, they'll show you what they found.
Oh. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't wanna
so
see
many
that.
lice that by the way, my mom, who had combed through the night before, did not find. And then they do this I think is real. I will die on this hill that this is science. They
Mhm.
like suffocate them with I think this stuff is called like I don't know, diethicone or something. It's like glycerin. It's like
Mm.
soap basically. And people
Mm.
people swear by like you can do this with Cetaphil whatever and they suffocate them. They put it all over your hair and you wait for like an hour and then you do that and you get rid of that. But I'm going
Mm.
back today with my kids, one of whom has a severe case, blah,
Oh.
to get,
Uh-oh.
like, checked again
Did,
because they come back.
yeah, I know. That I learned this summer when we had our another lice epidemic, and there was, like,
That
a
they come
family that
back?
just kept getting it. Yeah.
So the shampoo is fakakta. It's like, because I
Okay.
did the shampoo, and then I went to the lice ladies, and they were like, "Let us show you the community of lice that have set up shop in your head
Yeah.
that are thriving despite
That's
despite being
terrible.
nixed." Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like,
There were,
it's
like, babies and aunties and uncles.
oh my
Okay, cool.
god. Well, I'm excited for my kid to come, I guess, and I'll
Yeah.
find out. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it seems
show
like
me
the
send me
families
pictures.
do
We'll
other
see.
people. Seems like families have these traveling lice people, like, come and do your
Yeah,
deal.
there's
Oh,
some that come to your home, and then
yeah.
here this is also one of the best things about lice is all the pun names of all the lice removal services.
Mhm.
So I went to the lice aunties, but in Oakland because I was on a trip. I
I
was like
know.
I was having like wild independent time, like free from caregiving until a louse dropped from my head. Um and
Your
so my
kids
husband was
were
at
with
home.
you in the blood
Yeah,
meal that the
exactly. They
lice
were
had
like,
eaten.
"Mama,
Yeah.
never leave us here. This
Our
is
blood will
Gina.
go
This is
with you.
Gina. She's an adult louse and she's very active." Um, and so then back at home, my husband took the kids to the Knit Pixies.
Cute.
That's a cute
That's
name.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cute.
Well, all
Uh,
right, keep me posted.
we should
I'm
invite
gonna
our guests to weigh in
I
because I bet she knows stuff about
You
lice.
know what? I'm nervous because I don't want anything that I just said to be refuted because I believe it. If I don't believe in it, well, what then? What
Yeah,
do I
well,
have then?
we should adopt this as a podcast policy where we tell our guests that we don't want them to disagree with
No
anything that we
backsies.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else is wrong. You can suggest alternative facts. That's
Oh
okay.
god.
That's okay.
Oh god.
Only here.
Uh,
We're so excited, and hopefully we haven't completely grossed out, although I doubt it. Melinda Wenner Moyer, who is here with us, she is a journalist who covers science and parenting. She's the author of How to Raise Kids Who Aren't Assholes, one of the best titled books of all time. And most recently, Hello, Cruel World. I have it right here. Science-based strategies for raising terrific kids in terrifying times. What is this terror you speak of? It's lice. She also writes the incredibly useful Substack newsletter, Now What? On parenting in this wackadoo moment. Welcome, Melinda.
Hello. And I'm
How
so excited to talk about lice for an hour now.
are you scratching? Are you scratching
I
now
actually do
since
feel itchy now. I don't like
Mhm.
it.
What do you okay, do you have any before we go on, anything to add to the lice conversation?
We have dealt with lice in our house. It has been a number of years, though. I do remember writing an article for Slate about it many years ago where I learned that you're not always itchy and you don't always know. The shampoo, I agree, does not work. I have not heard of this new FDA-approved device, and I have no idea if it works or not. It sounds fascinating, but I am a big
Of
fan of the like lice ladies who come to your house or you go to their house. They are very good, and so I've always done that, and it has always worked.
um, I how have you haven't heard of the FDA approved Wait, it's called I'm sorry. I'm just looking it up because the name is so ridiculous. It's like a French name. They're like the Airy or something.
Oh,
It just seems like there's no way it works, but it feels nice.
mhm.
And so,
I
um
mean, it makes sense that desiccating them and like that heat would kill them. Like
right,
in
it's like
Sure.
theory,
putting your
Yeah.
your your stuffies in the dryer.
yeah.
Mhm.
Melinda, who is caring for your we hope lice-free kids right now?
We hope. We don't know. Well, nobody right now. Really. So my
Yeah.
14-year-old is upstairs, hopefully doing his homework, but we cannot confirm this. And my 11-year-old is in town with her friend by themselves, wandering around. And actually, they said they were going to
Oh
the
my
coffee
God.
shop. to do homework, which actually is probably sadly true. They're very studious. But we live in a small town and it's safe. So yeah, after school they could just walk into town and hang out there for a few hours. So yeah,
That's
nobody's looking after
lovely.
my children. Yay.
Do you remember like when you were I remember being like 12 and going to the coffee shop and
Oh,
like
yeah.
how what a kind of like sweet and kind of safe adult cosplay that was? Did
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah.
drink a lot of like, I hope she's drinking decaf at this point. She knows that she's supposed to, but we'll see when she gets home.
Mm.
But I remember drinking like caffeinated coffee even in the evenings when I was a
Oh
teenager. And
yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
that was
Yeah.
bad.
I
Yeah. Well,
mean,
we were like made of rubber.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
I
it was
also
like
smoked cigarettes at that coffee shop. So it was that I'm old, and that's probably part of why I have these lines here that need Botox in them. What do you think, Melinda, about, do you want to tell us any Botox stories?
I have not used Botox. But the complicating my opinion on all of this stuff is that I am now newly single at nearly age 47. So like
Yes.
this messes everything up because I think I was with Miranda where
mm,
I'm like, I will just age gracefully. And now I'm like, oh, but I might be need to date. And that just messes stuff up. I haven't used Botox, but I will say I use retinol and
Yeah.
I would otherwise I would have gray hair, but I don't. So, you can make your own conclusions about that.
the hair thing, yeah. I would do that. I feel like I wanted to, like, I didn't want to keep going on that train, but I was like, I would maybe dye my hair. I have thought about that. Like,
Have you never dyed your hair?
I have n-
You're
I have
just,
never
yeah.
dyed my hair.
Because it's like I have forever, so it's like I'll just keep going. It's not like a moment of decision.
Oh,
I
I had
think
a
that a
moment.
lot of my it's like
Oh,
lazy. I'm just
you
kind
didn't
of
dye your hair
lazy.
either. And then what'd you do, Melinda? Like you saw one gray, or you got divorced and you were like, it's time?
It was a little before the divorce. I just remember I switched to a new salon, and she was like, you know, she's like, she's like, your brown is a little dull and you have a lot of gray. Like, what are you thinking? And I was like, no, I wouldn't. At first, I was like, no, I want to stay natural. And then I don't know what it was, but one day I just was like, you know what? Screw it. Like, let's see
Yeah.
what this is like. And she was like, it only will last, it'll fade after a few months. And if you don't like it, then you never have to go back. And I was like, oh, I like this. My hair looks
Hmm.
much,
Mm,
much better. Like, yeah.
You look quite luminous. I mean,
you do.
if I was on the dating scene, I would be snatching that up. Yeah, I do think that I have heard that like because the standards have changed, that if you are in the market for someone to newly, choose you and your physicality, that like what they're looking at is a different scene.
Yeah. It
Mhm.
adds a whole other layer of, yeah. I don't know. It's crazy. And
Yeah.
especially if you're like app dating and they're looking at pictures and you're like, oh, yeah, I don't know. It's
It sounds
icky and hard.
I would
Yeah.
want to ask questions about that the whole time. Because
Right
you
now
probably
or
don't.
on the date?
No, right now I would like to ask Melinda questions about that, but there's
I
this
thought you meant I'd like
one
to go on dates and be like, "What have you done? Come on,
oh,
tell me.
no.
What do
Oh,
you got?
no.
Fillers?"
No. No, but there's
um,
this one dad in our we have like a group of people that we spend time with, and we're mostly coupled off, and then there's this one dad who's divorced and
oh, the divorce
dating.
dad. You told me about
And
him because I
yeah,
was
and we
trying to
all
set up
like
my friend.
yes, and I feel like we just like when we all get together, inevitably it comes back to his like dating life. And I feel like we're all sitting there listening, like, oh, it's like reporting from this other possible life or something. Does that happen to you, Melinda? Do people like
Yeah.
are you like the
People want
canary
the
in the coal
stories.
mine? Yeah.
Is
People definitely want the stories.
If I
Yeah.
bail on this marriage, what would it be like out there?
Yeah, it's not pretty, guys. It's really not pretty out there, but
well,
He read us a few like bios of people that he had been matched with, and there was one bio that was pretty intense, and it like sent him off the apps for like 2 or 3 months.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Oh,
"That
yeah,
seems like a
yeah,
anyway."
that's happened. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually do. I was reading something from friend of the pod, Amanda Monty, Melinda, the other day, who on her Substack, Mad Women, which is fabulous, and she was talking about she is newly divorced,
Yeah.
and she was talking about feeling like sometimes she gets a feeling from her friends who are still married that like they think she thinks she's better than them. for being divorced, and she was
I
like,
read that.
"It's
Yep, I read
it's
that newsletter.
not." She's like, "It's not. That's not true, but it's not like totally false." And
Oh,
I don't know if you have any thoughts
interesting.
about that feeling or that dynamic between your friends.
Oh, I think it definitely exists. I do feel like my married friends sometimes wonder if I'm judging them. And as for whether I am judging them, honestly, it kind of does depend on the quality of their marriage. It's not that I'm judging them, it's that I'm thinking like, but it
Yeah.
could be better. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about how it's not judgment exactly. It's just like, but maybe let's open up the possibilities here and think about like what would your life be like if you weren't with this guy anymore. So it's more that like I want to have conversations with them and have them start thinking about it. But it's only like certain, it's like if I really don't think it's a good marriage and my friend is not being served by it, then that's when I have those thoughts. Yeah. It's real.
Well, I
Yeah.
think there's something, I mean, like, that's what we want other people around for, right? To be like, hey, I've seen this, like, other part of life. Do you want me to tell you what it looks like? Like, just so you know? Like, I feel like I've always worked, um, not necessarily like part-time overall, but lots of part-time jobs and like cobbled together. And, I've been in education, which is very difficult, but it does mean that like, you can go to the post office before it closes and stuff. And I have had friends who work, 80-hour-a-week jobs and definitely make more money than me. But over the years where I've been like, hey, it doesn't have to be like that, right? Like I hear you saying that you wish your life was different. And I just want to make sure that you're crystal clear that like you could be doing another kind of work and that does exist and it wouldn't be without sacrifice, but maybe you should like just consider that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really liked your post, Melinda, about like your life kind of post divorce and what was surprising. I can't remember how you framed it exactly, but one of the things that I read it as a person thinking about friends who are in the process of getting divorced or whatever, kind of as a way to like try to get in their heads and imagine what they're worried about right now. And I had thought a lot about the money question, like, and a lot of times I don't want to pester and pry. And like we said earlier in this episode, like money is not everyone wants to talk about it. And it's like, but often that's where my worries about friends who are getting divorced are first and
Mhm.
foremost. It's like, oh, wait, how are you going to pay for your life? Are you going to stay in your house? Are you able to stay in your house? Are you worried about that? Do you need help? Do you need a realtor? Like, are you stressing? Do you like, like just if my marriage ended, like that would be my first panic for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely the biggest stressor for me, and I feel like I'm in a pretty decent place, but it's still been I'm refinancing my house because I'm staying, but now I'm like my interest rate just doubled because I have to refinance to get him off of the title and the mortgage. I mean, it's a lot.
that's a
And
lot.
it's funny that you mentioned the newsletter posts because I do have to say the posts where I talk about my decision to separate and like what it's been like and how my kids are doing, those are by far the most popular posts that I write these days. Like it's supposedly
Yeah.
a parenting newsletter, and yet all the like separation and divorce content is the most interesting to my readers.
Yeah,
It's
and I
fascinating.
get no clicks when I try to write about my happy marriage. No, it's complicated. It's all complicated, but yeah. Well, I think there's like, you know, I think that the less that we talk about things kind of day to day, the more people seek people they don't know outside of their lives who are like, bravely explaining this, right? Like the Botox thing. It's like if it feels either too intense or too taboo, to get that from the immediate people in your life, then like of course it's you can imagine people sharing that like, hey, I know maybe you're interested in this, let me send you this post. Or
Yeah.
and there's a voyeurism too, like I think that it can go both ways too, that married people, married women can feel superior to women who either haven't been married yet or are divorced. So depending on where you're coming at it, like, there can be the pleasure in that too.
Yep.
Or the
Mhm.
comfort of like, well, I hate my marriage, but like at least I'm not dealing with refinancing, which is
Yep.
just so complicated.
Oh my gosh, I know. I've never done it, like, by myself before. Like, when I bought a house before, it was, like, with my ex, and he kinda handled stuff, and now I'm like, "Oh my god, like, what is happening?" I mean, I'm figuring it out, like, it is empowering, I'm figuring it out, but
Yeah.
boy, it's it's not really fun.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
did I want to know about this? Did I want to sign this
No.
many docu-signs? Like, not
Yeah,
really.
I
not
But,
had
really.
this I had
yeah.
this conversation with my brother's partner who, started dating my brother, like, at 40, 41. They just had a baby, and so, as, like, a single person, she bought a home, she moved to a different place, she got her she went to med school, she became, like, the director of a nonprofit, and we were talking about how when couples kind of couple off earlier on in life, right? And they kind of go through these developmental stages together. For better or worse, they kind of create this unit where one person has to do something and the other doesn't, right? Like one person becomes the person that looks through the mortgage docs or the credit cards, and one person, knows who the kids' friends' names are, right? And then if that dynamic isn't working within your relationship, or if you split up, you find yourself kind of missing that. But she was kind of talking about how, like, she had to do all of it. And what that's like to come to a relationship in your 40s and be like, yeah, I'm the whole package, I have my flaws, but
Yeah, that's really interesting to think about.
I feel like, thinking about earlier in the conversation, we were talking about the coffee shop thing, like, so my husband and I met when we were 15, and he used to smoke in the basement of this, like, cool coffee shop that I could walk to and, like, do homework at, and
wait,
I would
cigarettes or
oh,
like weed?
yes. No, like,
Okay. Or
cigarettes
like
in the basement.
cloves. Okay.
No, just straight up cigarettes, and, like, I remember, like, walking there and hanging out and, like, waiting for him to show up and whatever. Anyway, it was very lovely, and so we've known each other and been in each other's lives for whatever that math is, 15 to 40, and, like,
Old. Old.
old,
Yeah,
old,
wow.
it's a long time, and I was talking to friends about, um we were talking about marriage and divorce and all these things, and, like, I really he's like a limb. Like, he's like a limb in my life. We knew each other's grandparents. He holds, like, so much of my story because of the longevity of that relationship, um, and if it was bad, I mean, but it's also he's, like, a nice person and a wonderful dad, and, like, like, there are other reasons it works, but, like, I think that, but sometimes I am, like, in this divorce moment, like, I feel like there is a lot of divorce in kind of the early mid-40s and, taking stock, and I'm totally in that taking stock, like, phase, and I wanna get into your perimenopause series that you've been doing, Melinda, so this will lead us there maybe, but, but I where I've landed for now, like, I was talking to this friend, I was like, "I don't know if I'm just lazy or, like, am I too lazy to imagine being with someone else at this point? Or am I, like, afraid? Am I comfortable? Is it okay to be comfortable?" And, like, I hope that, um, I don't know. I'm also, like, not, like, the idea of other men is not appealing. You know what I mean? I'm like, "Well, I'm not interested in
Well,
anyone
I mean,
else."
some women are saying that. They're like, "I just want none of them. It's not that I'm like, yeah,
For sure.
going for other I don't want my husband or the other guys."
Yeah. I trust it would be
Yeah.
clear if I needed to get out. I
I
don't
Yeah,
think
are
you would know your feelings would be talking to you pretty loud, and they're not,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I
that's
don't
good.
think you need to worry.
It's like when you have lice, like whether you're itching or
Well,
not.
do
I
you? I
was
mean
well, I will move on from this topic grudgingly in a moment, but I actually was telling my best friend and my husband that I had lice for weeks and asking them to check me. And they basically had this shared joke about how I was totally insane. And like, and I would wake up in the middle of the night and be like,
Mm.
it's the lice. And then in the morning, like they would be like, you just get off of it, go find something else to do. And then I was right. The only good thing about having lice is that I was right. And so I
There you
do
go.
think trust your instincts about your marriage. If you feel something creepy
Uh,
crawling on your sense of, trust and
mm.
desire, look into it.
Like a sort of a
Um,
spiritual, intuitive, like, lice comb for
yeah,
your personal life.
yeah.
Or s
Okay, enough about adults and weird bug infestations. I
okay.
wanna talk about kids for a minute. I do maintain some interest in them, um, even even though I frequently tell them
Just a
to
little
give
bit.
me space.
Mhm.
I so I was thinking, Melinda, I was like, when did I first encounter your work? I think it was 2021 when you were promoting your first book. And at the time, I was an educational psychologist with 2 young kids, and we were, like, still pretty deep in the pandemic, as I'm sure you remember, and I was feeling quite disillusioned with all of the theory and the research I'd learned, in graduate school about how to raise kids. I was feeling like, "This is insufficient, it's incorrect, or misinformed given kind of the world that we're in." But I was completely drawn in by your style of talking about parenting and the research on it. Because, for listeners who aren't used to your work, you have this kind of mix of curiosity about what we know and don't know, and like a desire to have some kind of guidance as a parent, right? Like let's look at what we do know and see if it can help us. And, you have humility around all of it not being as clear as we would like. And I think that that is very almost impossible to find. I remember reading a piece that you wrote about school choice, Melinda. This was like a number of years ago, which was a topic that Emily Oster had discussed in her book, The Family Firm. And her discussion I felt was totally myopic to like larger parenting goals that might go beyond optimizing our kids or like making them be the best people. So like, and you were able to look at that research, you were able to talk about what in the research seemed reliable and what wasn't, but then also these unquantifiable factors that might be involved in a choice like that, like what kind of world you want to see for your kid, that still should factor into your equation. So I
Mhm.
thank you for that. And I want to know, given all of that, how are you thinking about parenting in in this moment?
Ah, yeah, good question. Um, I feel like so all of my parenting research that I do is inspired by my own like questions and anxiety. And that's been true from like the first pieces I wrote for Slate, where I was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to write a column where I'm basically answering my own parenting questions, like looking to see if
Mm,
science can help. Right.
yeah,
And I've always been like really interested in like, okay, what do the nuances say? Because there's so many nuances in research and whatnot. But now, as I've done so much research and interviewed so many people, and especially for the second book that I wrote, I've found that like each chapter in my second book covers like a different Hello Cruel World. Yes, that's the name of it.
it's
Each
so good.
chapter covers a different like characteristic or skill and how it develops and what we can do as parents to help nurture it in our kids. And what was so surprising was that like these researchers from such different fields were telling me the same things. Like I
Mm,
thought, oh, I'm going to get so granular and there's going to be so many like, and I was actually worried about this. Like, I'm going to get like conflicting information from like the people who study media literacy versus the people who study self compassion. Like, they're going to like disagree on something that you should do as a parent broadly or whatever.
yeah,
And
those
I actually,
self-compassion heads are really antagonistic
yeah,
too.
they're awful. Uh, and like, I thought it was going to be really confusing and contradictory. And I was like, what am I going to
Yeah.
do with all this? And then I found that like the same themes kept coming up from all these different researchers studying different things. And I found that it was actually like much more simple than I thought it was going to be. And that was really nice, I will say. Like, it was a little scary too, because I was like, what if I write a book that's too repetitive? But it was really, reassuring, and so I feel like now I've kind of gone from, like, this, like, nerdy, like, super detail-oriented science writer about parenting to somebody who ends up talking about, like, these same big themes over and over again, because that's really where the research points, like, to what's
That's
important.
really that's an interesting evolution, and I just wanna note for our listeners, like, absolutely experienced, expert, parenting journalists just said that they also have parenting anxiety. But so that evolution, yeah, from, like, kind of the nitty-gritty matters to, like, it's actually just a few themes. What would you say those kind of main themes are for you?
Yeah. I think a lot of what I talk about now has to do with how we think about and how we deal with feelings in general, both our own and our kids. And I know, and that's
You just
like,
stuff them down, right? You just stuff them
I mean,
all the way down, and they
all the
never
way
come
down.
back up.
Yeah, yeah. We just try to like get rid of them in ourselves and in our kids, like that. But that's what we're told we should do. Like, right? It's so funny because some of the questions I've been doing a lot of, like interviews like this, and so many of the questions, like the premise of the questions, will be like, how should we as parents stay calm in this crazy world? Because, and the premise is like, we need to always
Yeah.
be calm. And I'm like,
Yeah.
How do I
wait,
increase
no,
my
no,
patience? Yeah.
right? Like, how do I not have feelings in front of my kids?
Yeah.
But that, and I feel like that's not A, not possible, and B, like pretty misguided. Like, we have this cultural idea about feelings being bad, like feelings being like bad feelings, especially like being a prerequisite to mental health issues, like feeling sad, feeling frustrated, feeling, disappointed. Like too much of that means, oh, you're going to be struggling your whole life with a mental illness. Um, and I feel, and Lisa D'Amour does a great job of talking about why this is problematic in her book, especially The Emotional Lives of Teenagers, which is one of my favorite parenting books. Love it. Um, yeah, I feel like we have all these cultural ideas about feelings that are just counterproductive, both for us as parents and how like dealing with our own inevitable feelings, and for like how we engage with our kids when they have feelings and what we think about those feelings and what we do about them. So that's like a big
Mhm.
picture theme.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah.
interesting I think about that a lot in the context of, like, um, the language around, like, nervous system regulation that comes up that's kind of in the pop culture, whatever, pop psych world right now, and that I find really compelling and, like, I is interesting, and I'm curious about it and whatever. But I think that, um, there's this, like, um, Dr. Becky, not to just, like, rag on her all the time, but, like, um, a lot of parenting influencers who do talk about, like, being regulated around your kids or, like, co-regulate with your child and, um, like, this language is putting a lot of pressure on parents, yeah, to always be like, you can't meet your child calmly when they're having a freak out if you're also, like, having a bad day, and there's not a lot of space in the kind of at least popular dialogue, I feel like, for, like, being a human and an adult who is, like, living a complicated life as well, and I think that was one of the things that kind of I think Sarah and I had talking about today with you where it's like, this is a really crazy time and parents are very overwhelmed kind of like we've kind of talked to each other about like sometimes I'm just like kind of baseline depressed and baseline anxious and I don't even like read that much news, but things feel really strange and weird and you're like my kids are really too little to be reading the news, but it sets like a vibe for me where I am a little more like a little unsettled and the economy feels really dicey. And, how do you like, and then you are on top of that afraid that like your kids are going to absorb your anxieties, it's just like,
Mhm.
how, I
Mhm.
don't
Yeah.
know. How do you think about coming to your kids with your own emotions? Like, or, do you shield them? Do you like, how do you kind of navigate that?
I mean, my kids are older, I think, than your kids, so but I do think that we don't always have to try to hide or shield or protect our kids from our feelings. And I'm not advocating for us, like, screaming at our kids all the time, of course,
Yeah.
but I do think there's this idea that, like, we can't say to our kids, "I'm feeling amped up or upset right now. I just need a minute and like go take a minute. Or that we can't have a conversation with our kids about the fact that our day has been a tough day. And I think there's definitely a line between like you don't want to make your kids feel like they're responsible for your well-being and that like they need to make you feel better. But I do think that it's really healthy for kids to see that like big feelings are normal for everybody. They're not, because I think sometimes at school, they're being taught that like they need to hide their feelings. They shouldn't be acting out. They should be silent sitting at their desk. Like they're getting all these messages that big and especially negative feelings are not welcome. And so at home, I think it can be really helpful to model that like, you know what, I have some big feelings right now. And here's what's going on. Like, I had a little bit of a tricky day. Like, let me tell you about my day. Like, it's okay to do that in a way where you're not like, seeking, like, you're not asking your kids to fix your problems, but to say, like, everybody has tough days. Everybody feels, makes mistakes. Everybody feels frustrated. And, that includes me. And that's just life. Right.
Mhm.
And I feel like we don't do that. We don't feel that's okay. And
Mm.
I think that that can
Mhm.
be, and we also tend to protect our kids from bad feelings because of the same idea that like bad feelings are bad. That's a whole other conversation about resilience and whatnot. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that like being somewhat open about our emotional lives with our kids is really helpful for building so many skills that I talk about in my book, like self-compassion, like resilience, like empathy. I mean, all the coping skills that go with like just learning how to deal with feelings over time. I guess that's resilience. But there's just so many things where or so many different skills that are bolstered by like having conversations about feelings, letting kids feel like feelings or know that feelings are normal and healthy and not a
Mhm.
sign of
Mhm.
something bad, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that,
Y
as a kid, like my kid has sometimes big feelings that come out in like physical ways sometimes. And pretty early on, when he was much littler, it was a bigger thing. And I remember like, I don't even know where I read this or how I figured this out, but like something that worked was like when I had to like physically restrain him sometimes was to say, and I don't know if I was saying it to him or to myself, like, I remember saying, like, "I'm not, like, afraid of this big feeling that you're having, and it's totally fine that you're having it, and I can't just let you hurt yourself or hurt our home, but or hurt me, but I'm gonna just help you, and it's okay to, like, be having this, and I'm not afraid of it, it's gonna be okay, it will pass like a cloud, and I'll sit with you," and, like, it was, like, the every feeling is okay, is like to try to myself embrace that, like in my own self and realizing that it was easier for me to say it to him than it was to then like, what does that mean for me? And like, that can be
Melinda, can
hard.
I ask you, like, I wanna, like, apply your newfound kind of, like, macro thinking framework to a nitty-gritty parenting moment. Because as I'm sitting here kind of digesting what you were saying about your evolution, I am thinking like, "Oh, yeah," like, in your first book, you were talking more about, like, how do I specifically think about sleep or food or, and you are talking now about more like character development. And that might be part of that might be like you got to have a new book, but I think what I'm hearing you say that really resonates with me is that one of the ways that you are figuring out how to move through the world as a parent, particularly in a very unprecedented time, is that this kind of small stuff doesn't really matter so much. So I'm thinking about like, my kid, my son is 9. He takes guitar. Um, he goes to guitar every Thursday with Dan, the guitar man. If you're in the Bay Area and you need a music teacher, he has a ponytail. He's an absolute sweetheart. Love him. And he loves guitar and he's like getting good at it. And Dan tells him to practice every day and he does not. And we've had, discussions about maybe you just practice a couple days. Um, it and it's hard for me because I want him to be someone who understands that you have to work hard to improve at something and to be able to commit, right? And that kind of conflicts with my desire to kind of, I'm a neurodivergent person in a world where I feel like I wasn't given enough opportunities to just like do things my way. And so I want to respect that too. How would you take now that like we're no longer so interested in like looking at the research on children who become musicians, I'm guessing, right? But we're
Right.
thinking more about like how do we want to be in this, wild, constantly changing planet? How would you approach something like that or approach thinking about it?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things here that I would be probably thinking about. I I mean, I always start off with curiosity, right? I think listening to our kids, that's another big theme of my second book, like really like being curious and listening rather than like I think sometimes I would want to come into that as like, how do I get him to practice more? Because I want this for my kid, right? And that's like coming at it with like, here's the solution I want, or here's the thing I want to have happen. And I think I would try to take a step back and say, let me see if I can understand exactly what's going on for my kid. And not I wouldn't try to do this in a moment where they're, like, resisting practicing and there's any friction there, or they're like, "I'm not gonna practice today," and they, like, storm off. I wouldn't do it then, but, like, at another time, I would probably start a conversation that's kind of a collaborative problem-solving conversation. I don't know if you're familiar with collaborative
I'm
problem solving?
I'm
Yeah.
finishing my certification as a
Oh,
as a
well, then you know more
CPS
than I
coach.
do. Okay, I don't know
No,
that
no,
much.
but it's also I think I'm suspicious. It's like my favorite approach to parenting for sure, and I'm suspicious of like any doctrine. And so I like hearing it in different words and slightly different versions of it. So no,
Okay.
I'd like to hear what you would say.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I'm doing it the right way, but I mean, I would probably try to start a conversation at a neutral time and say like, "Let's talk about your feelings about guitar right now." And like not even make it about practicing, but really try to understand, where are they in the big picture? Like do they like it? Do they keep want to keep taking it? Because that's another conversation you can have is it's also perfectly reasonable even if your kid has been doing something for years that at some point they might it might not serve them anymore and it might not be I'm not saying that's true at all in this case, but like to keep an open mind about that because I think the other thing is we feel this pressure to not let our kids quit things because it's like, oh, well then they won't have the skill to get into college with or then like we're not building resilience. And that is
Yep.
something I talk about in my book is like we really have to be careful with that, right? Like sometimes you have to quit things to start doing other things that might be better for you.
Yeah, I appreciated that you had a chapter on that.
Okay,
Like
good. Yeah, I
as
mean
a
it's
as a as a major quitter, I felt seen. But
good.
yeah,
Yes.
but
Well, I mean, I just quit my marriage, so there you go.
Quitting
you're
is
doing great.
great. I
You
think
look
quitting is
great.
wonderful.
To bring it
And,
back.
like, you have to also know,
So
I mean, like, Sarah, I think to I'm just spitballing here. Both of you have a lot more expertise in this kind of stuff, but, like,
let's stop.
the
Let's stop doing that, guys. That's not we just no,
but,
everybody's credible.
well, I just think that, you know, kids are humans and then parents are also humans and like really that's obvious but it really gets overlooked a lot like they are I think about all the time about the kind of children's rights conversation we had with Eloise Rickman who wrote about parenting from like a children's rights perspective and I guess um the sort of watered down thing that I took away from that is just like to see your child as a whole and complete being, in this moment and like engaging with them. And to me, there's no like X kind of parenting tidy way to call that, right? But it's just like you
No,
just
I think that's it. That's your bumper sticker and it's actually really comprehensive. Like kids
Yeah.
are humans and parents are also humans. Full stop.
Just
Melinda, what would you
yes.
add to like your bumper sticker? Like, you're talking again about distilling all of this research and ideas about like specific fields into a couple organizing principles.
Yeah, I mean, I just said, like, listening to your kids is really powerful, but
Yeah.
that was one that I was not expecting to come up in all these different areas, like, when I was researching how do we raise kids who aren't polarized and extreme in their beliefs, like, it turns out
Mm.
listening that research was some of the most fascinating research I cited where we know it and this is research among adults, so we don't know that's not been studied among kids, and it's very new research, but I think it's fascinating, which is this idea that when people feel listened to, then they feel like psychologically safe and they open up their minds more, which kind of like makes sense. And then
Hmm.
so there's some research suggesting that people who feel listened to are then more intellectually humble, like they're more willing to listen to other people, they're more willing to admit their own like limitations and weaknesses, and they're just like more willing to consider other perspectives. And so that's
Hmm.
another big one for my bumper sticker is like because we're all human and our children are human and they deserve our respect, like they also deserve to be listened to. And when we do that, we're both like strengthening our relationship with them. We're making it more likely that they will listen to us. And this is another reason why,
Hmm.
going back to the practicing the guitar thing, like if we start out curious and we show our kids that we're actually really interested in what they have to say on the topic and maybe why they don't like practicing or what's frustrating about it, then if we have something we want to say about like, well, here's why I think practicing is important, they're more likely to listen to us. It's like a tit for tat
Hmm.
sort of thing. Like, oh,
Hmm.
mom is
Hmm.
like open-minded and willing to listen, and then I'm gonna be a little more willing to listen to them. Anyway, where was I going? So yeah, and listening also is helpful for just like helping kids, I don't know, be more open-minded. So that's another thing I would put. I don't know if it'd be on a bumper sticker, but it's just like another big theme.
Just listen to
Yeah,
your
we'll put it
kids.
on like a
It's more
wall.
important than talking maybe, like and I think as parents, we feel
Yeah.
like we have to always talk at our kids and, like, correct their misconceptions and, tell them what to do, and listening is just as important, if not more
There is a
important.
lot of pressure to talk. Sometimes an exercise I do with my parent coaching clients is I'm like, what if you just try to shut up? Just see what happens. Like at this moment where you're always having tension around, just around brushing teeth or whatever, just see if like you just don't say anything for a while. What happens? Or do you just notice that you would have filled that space?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. I wonder too, Melinda, it's like I went to grad school like 15 years ago, so I was looking at all of that like theory about parenting then. And sometimes I think we already kind of know everything.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like I will see a new thing and be like, "Oh, that's just that old thing. We already knew that." Or someone will come out with even like something that's huge like, the research on grit and I'm like, "Yeah, we kind of knew that. You just like repackaged it." Um, do you think like there's a point in continuing to research parenting and children? Uh do you think there's a point in continuing to talk about it? Are those two different things?
That's a really good question. I mean, certainly the circumstances and of childhood, like, the way our kids are living is different from how we grew up, I mean, they're surrounded by technology, that's the big thing that jumps out at me. And so I do think we need research on like how are these, how's this new environment that our kids are growing up in
Yeah.
affecting them and how do we navigate that, right? So there are going to be
Okay, I'm
changes,
sold. Yep.
but and I also think sometimes like the new research will just like frame something slightly differently and I feel like as a parent sometimes I hear something and it doesn't click and I'm like I don't really why does that matter or like that doesn't make sense to me and then I'll hear it said just or framed slightly differently and I'm like oh my god like this is blowing my mind and I'll realize like wait I already knew this but it's just being described slightly differently and so sometimes I do feel like research is helpful that way too where it just like shines a light on it little bit differently in a way that might resonate with
Can you think of a time where that happened to you? I
oh god, it happened pretty recently,
I
and
think I do know I know what you're saying. Um, that there can be
yeah.
value
Or
too to
like a
just kind
science
of a
writer
slight update. Mm.
like you gets a hold of a boring paper and pulls out the
Oh,
nugget that's like,
yeah.
"Oh, dang, like, I
Right,
never thought
right.
of it that way." Or they pull the nugget, they pull the number that shocks you, like, your recent perimenopause series, like, had this number about, like, the average woman goes to, like, 5 different doctors before they get a perimenopause diagnosis,
Yep,
and that blew my mind, and it was the fire I had this vague idea like it's under recognized or, doctors don't really it's hard to get proper treatment, but that lit a fire for me. Just the way you framed it
You
to
mean you
like
got a
keep
hot flash?
No,
Sorry, I
well,
couldn't help myself.
no, but I tracked
Yeah,
down it got me to send the messages I needed to
yeah,
send to track
yeah.
down a different practitioner who I hope will be better, and if I hadn't encountered your writing about it, I don't know that I would have it kicked me in the pants, like, "Oh, just asking my one doctor about it." Like, it just reframed it for me. Like you said,
Yeah,
I guess I
yeah,
need to
you
go to
needed to.
5. Like,
Oh
Right.
god. Okay, I
Well,
did
we'll see.
okay, you go.
I was gonna say I did think of something that I remember was like a eureka moment when I was researching resilience, and I was sort of like, I get it. Like kids need to feel discomfort and frustration and like make mistakes. Like, and I was like, doesn't everybody know this? Like, this seems obvious. And then I remember talking with someone, and I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I remember talking about summer camp and like parents who um bring like everything for their kids to summer camp, like fairy lights and, all the stuffies. And then they send all the care packages. And for me, I was like, that seems a little like overwrought, like what, but okay. And then somebody was like, well, that's the same thing. That is, they want to protect their kids from feelings of discomfort at camp. Like they want to protect their kids from
Mm.
any kind of feeling of like not being at home and not being like, in the same environment they're always in. And so they're trying to literally like change their environment in order to protect their kids' feelings. And it's also about protecting the parent, preventing parent anxiety and wanting to like not feel anxious for your kid. But I was like, oh my gosh, that's a form of overprotection too, where we're just like, we don't think it's okay for our kids to feel any sense of like missing home or being in a bed that's not as comfortable as home, and we think that's bad. And so we like do all these things to
Right,
sort
and
of
it's not
prevent it.
just because of like what's interesting to me about that example is like there are a lot of, 2025 layers on that, right? Like how available products are on Amazon, right? It's like and how
Yeah.
much people are selling stuff to you. Like it's camp season, you're going to start getting ads. Oh my god, there's fairy lights and you can put a battery in and like there's an AI thing that says mommy missed you or whatever. I should get that, right? So there's all of that, but there's something very kind of tale as old as timey about the core of that instinct, which is I'm trying to protect my kid, which is something parents have done, for all time from a level of discomfort, and so it's time for me to assess whether this is like an actual danger or
Mhm.
something very reasonable that my child should have some space to learn in. Yeah,
Right.
that's super helpful. I also think like I appreciate God, see, you're my favorite person to talk about research with because, like, with the perimenopause study, right? Like, the critic in me is like, well, I mean, 5 doctors, is like, sure, the 200 women they surveyed said 5 doctors. But the point is, like, even if that exact statistic is not replicable or applicable like exactly to your life. The main interesting idea is that maybe it's really hard for women to be recognized for going through perimenopause. And you should know that, right? And doctors should know that. And I do think that I wish that we took research more like that as like a suggestion of something sometimes. My brother was talking about this study where like people were listened to a radio with like ideas that they agree with and ideas they don't. And when it was an idea they didn't, they were more likely to turn up the static or turn down the volume. And I'm like, that's a beautiful study because it is not telling us that that is literally what people do. It's saying, hey, probably we could consider the idea that people don't want to hear things that they don't agree with. And is there anything not harmful but good that helps us kind of think about doing? Yeah?
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, it's
All right,
just
we
like
we solved it.
gets you thinking about it and musing on it and like reflecting on it. And that's
Okay, I want to play a quick game before we let you go. Which is that I have written down some statements about parenting and children,
Oh.
and I want you to respond, Melinda, just without thinking. Your choices are absolutely, absolutely, nah, and it's complicated. Okay, you got that?
absolutely not. And it's
Okay.
not, I'll try my
Mhm,
best.
mhm, mhm. You can freestyle. The spirit of this game is quite loose. So
Pressure is
if your
low.
responses get that way, it's okay.
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 Let's see. I'm gonna start with kids should spend more time with their parents.
Nah.
Okay. Kid, uh, young children should only play with wooden toys.
No.
Parents are people too.
Absolutely.
Roblox is toxic.
Oh, it's complicated.
Wait until 8th.
Absolutely.
Children are in a mental health crisis.
Oh. Oh, it's complicated.
Okay,
I mean, it's
great.
like, yes,
Good.
but people misinterpret. Oh, yeah, it's complicated. It's complicated.
You should watch TV with your kids.
Absolutely.
Processed food is bad.
No.
Okay. And my last one was about quitting. It was I should let my daughter quit the cheer squad.
Oh, well, uh, I mean,
Read the chapter. The fourth
yeah, it
answer
depends
is
on the
read the
reason.
chapter.
Read the chapter. Yeah, and the processed food thing is probably it's complicated, but I'm sorry, I had a knee jerk. Like I there's so much pressure on parents to be feeding their kids a certain way, and I also think it's like not great for a number of reasons, and so that's why I was like, no. But it's complicated.
Also,
I
food deserts, like, some people only have access to it,
Exactly.
like,
I think
it's not
we
it's
should not be
complicated.
worrying
We'll
about
do
that. It's
whatever we can
complicated.
not to let any of this get taken out of context and put all over the internet. But
Okay.
I do like. Are there any of those you want to? I will give you a moment to expand on any of them if you feel like you need to justify your response.
I feel okay about them, I think.
I
Yeah.
think one actually, I was surprised by how quickly you said, "Nah, for kids should spend more time with their parents."
That wasn't too quick, was it? I feel like I sat there for
No,
a minute.
I thought you thought about it.
So
I feel that you
yeah,
thought about it.
I think that one for me, it just brings up the whole like the resilience over protection thing where it's like we shouldn't be
Mm.
letting our kids be independent because the world is too scary. We shouldn't let them walk to school by themselves. Like all this stuff. That's what that brought up for me. And I really want to push back against that. Like if our kids are in a safe place, then we should be letting them do more stuff on their own and be away from us more. Um, but obviously it's a complicated question and there's other contexts in which, people might be thinking of that question applying that might have a very different answer. I mean,
Yeah,
I love spending time with my kids and I don't want to imply that people shouldn't spend time with their kids, but I do feel like in the cultural moment we have, the pressure on parents and the anxiety is like, am I, are my kids safe? Am I do I need to protect them more? Do I need to be around them more? Do I need to follow them to school, et cetera?
but
Follow
this
them
is
to
why I
school.
love you, Melinda, and this is why we need more of you in the world, is that, like, for most things, you're like, well, it really depends on, like, who you are and what you know what I mean?
It's
And
yeah.
again, it's hard to find that sometimes, and I understand, to sell a book, sometimes there's a lot of encouragement to get more dogmatic, but I still think you prove that you don't need to be extremist, as we talked about earlier, like in order to be compelling and
It
helpful.
it is kind of funny that we started this podcast to be in that place of nuance in the parenthood conversation. And then, sorry, my husband is toddler locked out of our house right now. The
Like it's like a little, like he can't get the little
it's
plastic
on the top of
lock
the door,
to.
and he's got his arms full of groceries, and I
Amazing.
feel really
Okay.
bad. Anyway, he's
Parents
gonna
are
figure
people
it out.
too. Parents
We
are
have
humans.
another door. He's gonna figure it out. Okay, so like the bumper sticker, like that we spent a lot of time pressuring you to give like quick answers, which is funny because this whole podcast is about nuance. And because both of us have experienced, and I'm sure you have too, Melinda, like in the world of parenting content or whatever that we're participating in, like you are pressured, what's the headline? Like what's the whatever? And
Yeah.
it's I think it's always that it's complicated, right? It's like, what age are we talking about? What are your resources? Do you live in a city? Do you live in the country? Do you have, it's like,
Yep.
and
Yep.
Except I just want to say, I just agree so much with that. That's like everything that I believe in, Miranda. And I think it was pretty clear that kids don't have to just have wooden toys. Just to the person that invited me to a toddler birthday party, but requested only wooden or wool toys, I just want you to know we have an expert here. I know we all should listen to our instincts except when they're wrong and they tell you that.
Did that really happen? Did
Oh,
she
true
really get
story.
Oh
True
my
story.
goodness.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
dang.
Believe me,
Wow.
because I know when something's bad, hand slice. Melinda, I know we got to let you go. Do you have any quick culture recommendations for our listeners in the world of being a parent or the world of being a person?
Well, I just finished reading sociologist Alison Daminger's book, um, What's on Her Mind. And it's all about mental
Oh.
labor. And it's based on her work interviewing parents, couples about the mental labor that gets done in their home and who does it and how they talk about it. And it was totally
Ah.
fascinating because, as we probably all know, women do most of the mental labor in most families, thinking, planning and figuring out stuff that needs to happen with families. What's so interesting is like the way that we tend to rationalize it. Um,
Mm.
and both the men and the women, and it's fascinating. I'm going to run an interview with her very soon in my Substack, so you can read about it there too.
I
But
would love to read that. That's an interesting layer on a thing that I think we spend a lot of time on this podcast thinking and talking about, right? Is like, but how does that kind of work for us, or how do we explain it away?
yeah,
Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
I'm in. I'm in. And also Hunting Wives. Is that still happening?
Uh, I loved that. Yes, I
I
recommend
didn't
that
see
too.
it. It's like I don't know. It's like the thing that I mention all the time when I want to be
Is that
ridiculous
a
is I'm like,
show? Is that a
It is.
yes,
TV
It's
show?
you,
totally
so,
ridiculous.
so Miranda, it's on you. If you had a computer, you go to that and there are these websites that give you more than one show. You can choose. It's crazy.
Oh, I've heard of
Yeah.
this. I've heard of
And you just
this.
get it right away. And sometimes they're about Texas Republican ladies that all hook up.
Yeah, that's basically
Yeah.
the whole show. Yeah.
Oh,
Sweet, sweet.
wow. Oh, I
Have
Yeah.
you
can't.
guys been listening to the Lily Allen album?
I've
No.
been reading
No.
about it.
Oh,
Mm,
Melinda.
I need
I've
to.
been
Yeah.
reading the
It's the divorce
discourse.
album for this
Yeah.
new era.
I will. You
It's
know what?
it's
I will listen to it in my car when I pick up my daughter in a few minutes, actually, because I've
great.
been meaning to.
I hope she likes the phrase pussy palace.
She actually probably
My
will.
I know. My kids, I've been listening to it all the time with my kids, and like I just kind of like, whatever. I just talk over the parts where she's talking about butt plugs and stuff. But
Okay.
like you said, we need to not protect them from everything.
From butt plugs. Yeah. Oh God. Okay.
Ooh. Well, thank you, Melinda. This was wonderful.
This was so fun. Thank you so much.
Come back anytime.
I would love
Subscribe to
to.
Melinda's Substack. Get Hello Cruel World. It is a parenting book that will not make you feel like shit. Um, and yeah, we'll have you thinking about some interesting things that just align with like value and big picture, like you said, and get you out of your head about every little decision being important.
I'm so glad you liked it. Sorry, I'm getting like I feel like things are
You gotta
pinging.
go.
I'm
You gotta
sorry,
go.
my
You are
child just
needed.
texted me.
Oh.
She's like, "Can I have decaf?"
Okay.
I don't know what's
Get
going
out
on.
there, girl.
All right, thank you so much. This was
We
amazing.
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.